Hello everyone, my name's Christian and I'm making this video because of what happened to me and using this as a cautionary tale to people who have been unfairly taxed by the state of California. And I, this has happened before to people and I've read online, but I never thought it would actually happen to me. It's so I'm not the first person to have it happen to, but I want other people to be aware that this is something that could happen to you if you at one point lived in the state of California and currently no longer do. So in 2013, I had just graduated from college in Minnesota. And at the time, my dad lived in California. So I went and visited him after I passed my nursing boards. And I was applying for a job in the state of South Dakota. And when I was applying for this job, I used the address that my dad lived at for a permanent physical address that I could use because I didn't have any other place to use at the time on my application for an address. So I get the job, and in September of 2013, I moved to the state of South Dakota. And in the state of South Dakota, for those of you that may not know, it does not have an income tax. So you're only taxed on federal, for the federal income tax. The state doesn't take anything away from your paycheck. So that was pretty nice. And I've lived there since September of 2013. And I've always wanted to move back to California. It's where I grew up, where some family members of mine live. I still know a lot of people who live out there. It's just I haven't made it back there yet. And it's always been my intention to eventually move back there. And in December of 2015, January 2016, I applied for my California board or California nursing license, and I eventually got it, and I'm currently now able to practice in the state of California as a nurse. But I haven't worked there. I've never made any income at all in the state of California since I moved when I was 18. The last time I had permanent residence, really, other than that time I applied to this job in South Dakota, was in 2008, and I was in high school. So I got my nursing license. It's been valid for about a year now. And fast forward to April of this year, after tax day, April 15th, I check my bank account, and randomly it's $3,000 less than it should have been. And I'm like, what the heck? So I check out my checking account, and I see that there's this random 916 phone number attached to the $3,000 removal from my checking account. And so, if for those of you that are unaware, 916 is a Sacramento area code. And I called the phone number, and it was the California Franchise Tax Board, which is basically California's IRS. And when I checked my bank account, it was on a Saturday, and the Franchise Tax Board wasn't open until Monday. So I couldn't get a hold of them. I couldn't understand why they took my money out in the first place. And I was shocked. I mean, I couldn't believe the state of California somehow found out that where my bank account, who I was banking with, and that they didn't notify me that I had a tax lien against the state. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. So I was reading online after I found out that all this money was taken from me, and I'm not the first person this has happened to. In fact, there was a person online that said they had $10,000 taken from them, and at the time, the tax year that they were charged, he wasn't living there either. So now, of course, you take that with a grain of salt, but knowing that it happened to me, I believe whoever that person was that had the $10,000 taken from them. On top of that, I worked with someone who had a pharmacy license in the state of California and went to UCLA and grew up in Fresno, but had worked in the state of South Dakota at the same hospital that I currently work at, and never worked in the state of California in terms of as a pharmacist. And one day he also noticed that the money that he had in his bank account was taken, and it was the same thing that happened to me. The state of California somehow figured out who he was banking with, and felt that they were entitled to his money because he had a pharmacy license in the state of California. Not checking whether or not he had actually worked in the state of California. They just feel as if you have a license in some professional field like pharmacy or nursing, the state of California is entitled to your money. And so finally Monday rolls around and I call them, and this is exactly what happened. They saw that I applied for my job here in South Dakota with a California license, California address, and they also saw that I had a California nursing license. So they just assumed, the California Franchise Tax Board assumed that I had been living in the state of California in tax year 2014. This doesn't include 2015, 2016, and 2017. Just this year of 2014. And that they were entitled to over $3,000 of mine. And I quickly got the paperwork from that was required, that showed from the IRS, that showed that I had an address in 2014 in the state of South Dakota, and I faxed it to them, and sorry, excuse me. And I sent it to him, and when I called them back after I faxed it to the Franchise Tax Board, they said it would take up to 90 days to get my money back. 90 days. So I would still currently be waiting for my money had it not been for the lady I talked to, who was actually very friendly to me. And sorry, this cat is curious, very curious cat. That's why I call her Whiskers. Actually, nuts. But anyway, back to it. The lady that I talked to was very kind, and she said she'll take me out of California's system, saying that I worked or that I owe money to them. And later that week I got my money back. So, and I wish I could say that was the end of it, but unfortunately earlier this week I got a letter from the Franchise Tax Board again, saying that if I do not send in my 2015 tax return, I will owe whatever the state of California says I owe. And it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. Now, understandably, some of you might say, you know, you should change your address to wherever you live in South Dakota. And I should. I agree. But that still doesn't... it's still maddening. And I'm pretty certain that any of you who watch this video and see that if this were to happen to you, you would be enraged as well. And I just really want to use this video as a warning. If you at one point at all had had an address in California or had a professional license in the state of California but don't work there, California will find you. They will find you and they will take your money. And I just want this video to be a education piece, and also for everyone to get angry about how California won't notify you if you owe any money to them in their eyes, regardless if you live in that state or not. So yeah, so I just appreciate you watching this video. I'm not going to say click like and subscribe, but if you want, go ahead.